Wow, welcome everybody to another soulful conversation. I'm Victoria Anagenis from Greece. Anagenis is online community school where we remember who we are and not just staying on the remembrance and wishing for things to happen, but we really go for the actualizing, realizing, manifesting, not struggling, but with ease and grace. And today, this is another soulful conversation where we assist, where we have this beautiful conversation unfold in the flow. And I'm super happy today. I have this wonderful soul. I don't know him for a long time, but it is a divine synchronicity that brought us together. And Nick Breau is with us. Welcome, 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 Nick.
Thank you.
Nick is an international breakthrough specialist and best-selling author, and not only. And you know, Nick, I was thrilled to see how you wrote what you feel, what you're doing, like rethink reality. I really like that term, and I was like, wow, yes, there are so many things I want to ask you. But what is really bringing us together with Nick is our passion and realizing how the law of attraction, the law of magnetism, I like to call it as well, can really be a tool. So welcome once again. And so I would like, to start a little bit about what happened. How did you wake up?
Yeah, that can be a long story. I'll give you kind of the brief unfolding. So my background is tech. So I spent 10 years in startups. My goal was to be part of a startup that would be acquired and retire by the time I was 30. And so coming out of school, that was my goal. So I did 5 years of computer science training. I jumped into tech companies. And for me, at one point in time, I remember sitting in my cubicle and kind of looking around at everybody and kind of asking myself some deeper questions, like, what is this really all about? Is this what I want to be doing for the next 40 years of my life? Noticing that most people aren't really happy. Most people are more in a state of contentment. Most people aren't depressed, but most people are just kind of like, living what they think they're supposed to be doing and kind of just, getting by. So I really started reflecting on, do I really want to do this for the next 40 years? Is this really what life is about, right? Living life to pay your bills and pay your mortgage, living life only having 3 weeks vacation every year, getting very little time to spend with your family or your kids. And I started to develop kind of like this inner feeling of like, this isn't what life is supposed to be about, that life is supposed to be easier than this. And I think like most people, I ignored it for a while, but that feeling kept getting stronger and stronger and stronger. And that's when I really started to dig into personal development, dig into self-help. I've been studying it for a while already, but that's when I really started applying. And I think a lot of people can relate to that because there's so many people who read self-help books and study this stuff and not a whole lot changes. Mm-hmm. And the reason for that is because a lot of people have a lot of knowledge up here, but there's a big difference between, knowing it and applying it. So I really committed to applying. And I would say within the next 6 to 8 months, everything changed, everything was different. For example, the company that I had worked for was acquired for over $330 million US. So that gave me the financial freedom to step away from tech and then focus on this world full time. I ended up leaving my marriage. I met my current partner, Anik, probably maybe, 6 to 8 months later. Her and I share some pretty cool synchronicities. So my name is Nick. Her name is Anik. So growing up, both of our sets of parents called us Nick. When we met, we were driving the same type of car. We now do the same type of work. And a few months after we started dating, we realized that we both left our marriages on the same day before we'd ever met. So for me, I experience a lot of these synchronicities and a lot of flow and a lot of ease. And what I teach is that's how life is supposed to be, right? Life is supposed to be an aligned, a flowy, an easy experience. But because so many people are out of alignment, are disconnected from their inner beings, are disconnected from that awareness and the guidance, life becomes a struggle. So in the work that I do, it doesn't matter if you come to me for, career or relationship or depression or chronic pain or anxiety. It's all the same work. It's all about figuring out what's disconnecting you from your inner being, what's disconnecting you from alignment, and getting you back into that place where you're fully empowered and you're living that authentic life of who you're really supposed to be.
Yeah. Okay, so let me ask you something, because I know that this is amazing, and I feel that there are a lot of people out there that really get that and start to realize that yes, nothing can happen just theoretically, and things start to change when the inner change is happening. So, and they start to realize, yes, something has to shift, something has to transform. But tell me if you agree, like we are in these really rapid, really accelerated times of awakening. And sometimes I feel like this is where we come and we, in our journey, because we've gone through some of these experiences, we can really help and assist people. Because this rapid acceleration is happening, sometimes there is no much time to even realize that, oh my goodness, yes, I start to apply these tools, but the moment that something would start to happen, there is another wave of, let's say, aspects or, the patterns that are coming in. So I would love us to dig deeper today so it can be really helpful, because I know you've been 10 times, correct me if I'm wrong, in the hot seat with Abraham and the law of attraction. I know that one part of your work is really drawn from that and you are inspired by that. So my first question would be, so we can start to give a little bit that deeper. Why do you feel that people don't get or misunderstand the law of attraction? This huge from one side tool, and the other one is like people go, we see this acceleration time, we start to remember, but then we go and we go and we go and we forget. Why do you feel like first we misunderstand the law of attraction and then there is a tendency to forget? Okay, this is my two questions that I wanted to, because I know your work, you tell us a little bit how you go and you work with, it's not just being in the positive.
Yeah, so there's a lot of different angles I can kind of approach, what you're saying, because there's a lot that can be said. Yeah. So what I tell people is that kind of, where people first get introduced to a concept like law of attraction is The Secret, right? Yeah. And The Secret is very general. And the main takeaway from The Secret is you create your own reality, right? And, that's a universal truth. And that's why The Secret resonates so much with people. It's not because there's facts and there's data that really just makes sense. It's not an intellectual resonance. It's like a vibrational resonance. So people really feel the truth when they watch The Secret, but The Secret's a little vague, right? So by the time people are done watching The Secret, they think it might be, it's about vision boards and affirmations, and they play around with it for a few months and nothing really changes, and then they kind of get frustrated and they either stop believing or they just give up. Then the second layer of depth is what I would say is Abraham Hicks's. And, for people who don't know, The Secret was actually based off of Abraham Hicks. They were cut out because there were disagreements between, I think it was handing over, Abraham Hicks didn't want to hand over some of their intellectual property. But Abraham Hicks is kind of the next depth of The Secret. But I find even with Abraham Hicks, even though, it all makes sense, it's still not complete enough in terms of the practical application. Mm-hmm. And that's always been my focus, is really, how do we take these concepts, these universal truths that Abraham Hicks is teaching, and make them practical for people? Mm-hmm. And when you look at law of attraction, most people are focused on, how do I focus so hard on that desire it's going to show up? And I look at things kind of from the other side of the coin, because vibration doesn't lie and physical reality doesn't lie. So if you really understand law of attraction, you understand that everything is manifestation, wanted and unwanted. So if you're always attracting maybe relationships where your partner always abandons you, that's because you've got something in your vibration that matches that experience. So when people come to me about law of attraction, it's about looking at what you've got going on, analyzing, auditing what's in your attraction point to see what those pockets of resistance are, and then shifting you out of them. And what that'll do is that'll help you flow back up to your natural state of alignment, which is where you want to be for that ease and then that flow. And then it helps you become more of a vibrational match to what you really want. The self-help journey, whether it's from law of attraction or any other angle, is really a journey back towards understanding who you really are. It's a journey back to your authenticity, and it's a journey about understanding your power as a creator.
Mm-hmm. So this is where we also like matching what I've seen through this like 7 years that I'm teaching, I'm sharing with people. We came to this base of the conscious transformation, like, and sometimes we are going for a concept, let's say, whether it's a quantum, eclipse, or there is a light language healing, or the law of attraction. We start to apply something, and we don't. I feel like, you correct me how you feel. We don't get that when you start to open up to see all of you, you're gonna see some aspects of you. And the key there is not to be attached on them, but to hold the space so they can come back. It's like when we are awake and we say, yes, I want to transform, I want to embody like the highest potential, because I feel something is going on. I feel like I can be that person who is happy, but who is happy no matter what. But I mean, happy on a way of allowing all the emotions. What I feel that is the lack is for people to understand that the negative emotions and things that are coming to the surface when we are consciously working, breathing, exercising, like, the alignment, everyone has their own keys, that when these aspects are coming home, they're coming to the surface. No need to run or try to avoid it.
Yeah.
But instead, keep the space. Do you agree? How
Yeah. So during the Caribbean cruise, the Apex cruise I got off that ship 2 weeks ago. On the first day, Abraham was talking about. She said, "Feel the pinch of negative emotion." Right? Feel your negative emotions. The biggest misconception from the Abraham Hicks message is ignore negative emotion. Try not to feel it.
Exactly.
And you got to remember that your negative emotions are a guidance system. All of your emotions are anchored by a perspective. So those negative emotions are trying to tell you that you've got a perspective that's non-serving, a perspective that's keeping you out of alignment. So it's not about ignoring negative emotions. It's about asking yourself, what's this feeling? Allowing it to surface. What's it trying to tell me? And shifting your way out of it rather than pushing against it. Because by pushing against it, it's still sitting there in your attraction point. It's still pulling you out of alignment, right? Mm-hmm. So for me, 90% of the work that I do with clients, it's clearing work. It's saying, okay, what's in your attraction point? What are the emotions that are there? Okay, so not good enough, which is probably the most common one. I know you're good enough. Your inner being knows you're good enough. But what are the perspectives that you're holding on to, typically rooted in childhood, that you're still carrying, that's still convincing you that you're not good enough? Most people in self-help, they're trying to boost the positive. So here's how emotions work. So let's say at 10 years old, you get home from school and you failed your first test. And you've got that really judgmental, criticizing parent. They give you a hard time. They tell you to go to your room. That 10-year-old you, she's sitting there thinking, oh, wow, I tried as hard as I could. My parents are still unhappy. I'm just not good enough. So the first thing that happens, that perspective, I'm not good enough, gets anchored in place. Once that perspective gets anchored in place, the negative emotion comes along to tell you you've got that perspective, right? And what most people are doing in the presence of that negative emotion, they're doing affirmations, they're doing positive aspect lists, they're trying to boost the feeling of good enough to compensate for the not good enough. And sure, some people are really good at it and they can get themselves bigger than the negative emotion, but even if you're doing that, it's still in your attraction point, and energetically you're still always pushing against it. So getting into alignment and staying into alignment is still not as easy as it's supposed to be. So the real path to success and to healing is not about boosting positive emotions, it's about invalidating the negative. And once you identify these negative perspectives and invalidate them, they go away. Once they go away, you no longer have anything to push against, and you're more naturally in that state of joy. So alignment and being up here, it's our natural state. So I see a lot of people are efforting their way into alignment, and alignment shouldn't be effort. It shouldn't be hard work. And it's those perspectives that we have anchored in and those negative emotions that are often subconscious, or that they're so present for so long you stop realizing that they're there, like background noise. So the key to easy alignment is identifying and dealing with that stuff.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And the interesting thing is for our listeners and for people who's going to listen to that, is that the more you are becoming aware of that process, and you're opening yourself to that process, not hiding and doing the shadow work or accepting. I feel like this is the aspects of you that are coming home, that are coming to you, as you said, like you discover yourself. But don't you agree that at some point, because the leveling, the upgrading your vibrational field, like being more and more in the vortex of, and working, we're going to go to that. I want us to talk about a little bit the vortex and the manifestation. But the more you are aligning yourself, and the more you know that, okay, there is a process of welcoming also the negative part, like aspects and the negative emotions, the less they become stronger, because some of them, by working through your alignment and by doing this, like inviting and refocusing, let's say, that yes, I can be in the flow, my higher self or my inner presence loves me unconditionally, I don't have to prove anything. I feel that some of these negative aspects or negative emotions, they kind of like dissolve in you being in the alignment more and more, and then the whole process become less powerful. Do you agree? Do you feel? I see that how it works in my personal journey, but also with my group of people that I'm working.
Yeah, I mean, once you really understand that negative emotion, like most people don't understand negative emotions. They don't understand that they're anchored by a perspective, and they don't understand that they serve a purpose.
Right? It's important for you to explain a little bit. They are with the perspective. I think it's a really key point to explain a little bit on that.
Yeah. So every time you feel a negative emotion, it's because of a thought that's behind it. So for example, if somebody says, "Oh, Nick, you've got a really ugly car," right? I could feel two things. I could feel hurt by that thought, right? I could feel maybe not good enough, or I could be indifferent depending on what my thoughts are, right? So I could think, "Oh, wow, my car doesn't please that person. I'm just not good enough." Mm-hmm. Or I could think, "Oh, wow, we have different opinions about what's a nice car. No big deal." Two different emotional responses. Mm-hmm. Right? Mm-hmm. So a negative emotion is a response to a thought, whether you realize you're having that thought or not.
Okay.
Right? And oftentimes, if that thought was triggered at the age of 10, right, as a belief, "Oh, I failed my test, I'm just not good enough." Well, if that thought sticks around even subconsciously, that emotion's always going to be there too. Mm-hmm. Right? So with my kids, for example, whenever my kids would have a tantrum and my son maybe would get angry, I would say, "Listen, you can choose to be angry. That's okay. But when you're done choosing to be angry, if you want to be happy about something else, I'll be over here playing Lego and you can come join me." Right? Mm-hmm. So it's about understanding that, like, when a negative emotion surfaces, it's because of a belief. And by using the proper question, so ask yourself when a negative emotion comes up, what must I believe to be true to feel this way? So I tell people negative emotions come from your inner critic, positive emotions come from your inner being. So when you feel a negative emotion, ask, okay, what is my inner critic saying that's making me feel this way? What would my inner being say instead? And can I shift myself over to that perspective?
It's a wonderful exercise, everybody. Do you listen? Write it down. It's a wonderful. Next time you feel a negative emotion, catch it and ask yourself. Exactly. Yeah, I love to use that as well. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Wow. Wow. So it's like becoming a friend with your negative emotion and be aware of them.
Yeah, and not pushing against them, not being afraid of them. A lot of people are afraid of their negative emotions, and they're doing everything they possibly can to avoid feeling that, right? But what you want to do is you will want to allow yourself to feel it, right? So, for example, if you look at relationships, so a lot of people have relationship trauma, maybe from being cheated on, maybe from being controlled. So what happens is there's this new belief. So, okay, here's an example. So let's say you're in a relationship, a long-term relationship, and all of a sudden, out of the blue, they break up with you, right? And you didn't expect it. Well, that can be an emotional trauma that creates an emotion of rejection. If you don't fully process and deal with that feeling of rejection, then there's going to be a fear of being in a new relationship because you're afraid of that feeling of rejection. And that feeling of rejection anchors that fear in place. And now you've got split energy. Part of you wants a relationship because you want to get married and have babies, but part of you is afraid of being in a relationship because you might get hurt and rejected again.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? And again, this is all happening at a subconscious level, but when you have that split energy, oftentimes what it'll do is it'll either create a self-sabotaging behavior. So once you get really close to that person, you start to do things to mess up the relationship because of the rejection fear. Or energetically, it's like you put up this energetic wall that says, no, I want to stay single, I don't want anybody, again, because of that underlying fear of rejection.
Yeah. Would you though agree that because the awareness of awakened souls, let me tell you, let me tell that way, the awareness becomes so more present, and because we are vibrational beings and we attract depending on all of the vibrational the imitation what we emit. I would say also sometimes we go into a relationship and at some point it completes and it is closes, as you said, someone just like, thank you very much, I'm not interested anymore. Sometimes when it's not disappointing or it's just, why did that happen? But it's not really hurting yourself. I feel it's also that, it was something for you, for both of you to try and test, and that's over. It doesn't mean always that, if something changes the direction and it is really suddenly closes and suddenly someone rejects you or going away, sometimes it just means that it's not your vibrational match also, right?
Yeah, so when it comes to coupling, when you attract a partner, you guys are a vibrational match in some way, right? And, over time, our goal here is growth, it's expansion, it's learning, and especially for those of us who practice self-help, our vibration changes. So, if 12 months ago, your vibration isn't going to be the same 12 months ago as it is now, right? Yeah. And, your vibration might go this way, their vibration might go this way, both of your vibrations might go this way. And sometimes those vibrations split far enough that it's a big vibrational gap and it doesn't feel good anymore. Yeah. And that doesn't mean it's a wrong thing. That's just the natural progression of who we are and the natural fact that our vibration is always changing. We're always a new person, and there's nothing wrong with that.
Exactly. Yeah, I mean, the subject of relationships, I feel that we could have another discussion about it because you are also the master of it. yeah, we can analyze a little bit the next time. But I want to go back a little bit because I feel like in the field today, this soulful conversation really helping us to go dive deeper about the negative emotions. So what I feel, it's like I'm getting the next question about it.
Yeah.
Is that because of the law of attraction being explained that, you know, what you feel, what you emit, this is what you attract. People also avoiding feeling the negative emotion because they feel like, oh my God, I'm going to attract something bad. But what I want your point on that. And also I feel like this is this is where we start to realize how awareness is important, because when you invite, I mean, when these negative emotions and these aspects are arising, it's so important not to be attached to them, because when we're attached, then we go and we really like go and open up the whole scenario and we leave the drama again. So I would like you to talk about your perspective on that.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
so my perspective, and they call this, Abraham Hicks calls this her step 5, is that everything that happens to us happens for a reason. It's happening for our own benefit, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, some people can see a divorce or a separation as the worst thing in the world,
Yeah.
right? But if that event sparks and triggers inner growth that leads both of those people to much better places and much better relationships, then no, it's not the worst thing in the world, right? So a lot of people, again, they struggle with contrast. They push against contrast. And when you push against something, you create more of it, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if you use money as an example, the first thing I tell people about money is stop working out of lack, work your way into wealth. Because by working your way out of lack, you're pushing yourself against lack, you're giving more momentum to lack, and you're creating more of it.
Yeah.
Right? So, one of the most important things to learn, Abraham Hicks talks about art of allowing. And most people, when they think of art of allowing, they think it's about learning to allow your desires to come to you. Stop efforting or chasing after the desires. And that's one part of it. But the other part of the art of allowing is allowing your reality to unfold in whatever way it's unfolding without the need to try to change anything, right?
Mm-hmm.
Not the need to go and do things to prevent things from happening, or physically going and changing things, or action. The only change that ever needs to happen is from within, because that's really what creates real change, right? So on one of my group calls with my mastery group last month, the exercise I gave them for the week was observe everything without the need to change anything. Allow the circumstances to bring up in you what they want to bring up, the positive, the negative. Allow yourself to process and keep working towards the way you want to feel without pushing against, right? Because a lot of people are keeping them stuck in their unwanted circumstances because they're continually trying to push against them rather than allowing and moving their way away from them vibrationally.
It's what we say, like you are so focused on what is that you bring more of it, right?
Yeah, and that was a big topic on the cruise 2 weeks ago. She talked about getting out ahead of it. So the more you focus on something, the more energy and vibration or momentum you're creating for it. So people are so busy focused on current reality circumstances that they're just creating more of it. I call it creating by default.
Yeah. So what do you think, like, because we see that, like, people are going to these workshop seminars, we have groups, we have people that are coming in, and you see them blossom when we're working. I love to work. My programs are lasting like 7 months, 6 months, 5 months, because it's like they keep on coming back. They keep on coming back. They keep on being reminded. And also we're doing the 21 day that we all meet together in the morning. So I can see the progression, how they start, all the breakthroughs that need to be like the how you call it, the resistance, how they continue to commit and show up for the good and breathe. We do the meditation. And then at some point, I start to receive the messages, although we've saying that, it's unavoidable that things will show up. And then it's like this wave. of negativity or doubt is coming in. And this is where you see how we so quickly forget. And this all emotional, low vibrational, let's say, status is like we start to believe that nothing is working. So this is the key, I feel. This
Yeah,
is
life's not about avoiding contrast. There's always going to be contrast because we always want to grow, expand, and learn. And you can't do that without contrast. So life isn't about finding a way to avoid pain and avoid contrast and avoid what we perceive as negative situations, right? It's about being in alignment, accepting those situations, not pushing against them, looking at them as triggers for growth, and by not pushing against them, you're flowing through them with so much more ease, right? You start to see the value in them.
Yeah, exactly. And now, because I am enthusiast, like this is for me, it's so important because my wiring, and I don't know, maybe you have the same. My wiring is like, let's go, life is beautiful, like, all about optimistic. And for me as well, at some point, I needed to have that space and say, Victoria, is okay. It is okay to feel negative. It's a part of the game. It is a part of the game, but we know that what we came here to experience is joy, right? It's bliss, right? This thing of uplifting and living in the vortex. This is a vortex conversation. If we wouldn't be in that blissful state and remembering that joy, this is what we came here for, we wouldn't connect so easily. Like, it was so beautiful. I just saw Nick, I felt the energy. And I wrote, and the next thing you know, we are here doing this wonderful discussion.
Yeah. And I think it's important for people to recognize that if they're not in joy, they're not failing, they're not screwing up, they're not making a mistake. Nobody maintains 100% joy 100% of the time, right? So I see a lot of people in the LOA or law of attraction world get down on themselves. They think they're not good enough. They think they're screwing up. It's not about being happy and satisfied 24/7. The more you're there, the better, right?
Yeah.
But you want to be authentic and authentically feel the way you're feeling. But at the same time, you want to work through the way you're feeling as well, right? So you don't want to get stuck and dwell on a negative emotion. You want to ask yourself, oh, why am I feeling this way? Oh, it's because of this. Okay, so what perception can I choose instead? Which might help release that and then work your way out of it. Now, it takes practice, and some people pick up on it quicker and easier than others. Sometimes we have a lot of negative momentum going on, and sometimes it's easier to work with somebody else. But nobody's ever stuck. Nobody's ever stuck in negative emotion. There's nothing that can't be cleared. You weren't born with it. It's just a matter of, finding the underlying things that you might not be aware of that are kind of anchoring things in place that you might not want.
Yeah. Wonderful. So I know we are great manifestors. I know about you, and I know myself as well, how things can manifest easily. So, and today I would love from you, like 3 things that you believe, or 4, whatever comes to you, that you believe are the greatest, like tools or concepts for more, like for the effortless manifestation on any level. And before you go into that, do you really believe that to manifest a house, a relationship, or a car, or a pair of shoes is the same like method as it's not different from one to another?
Yeah, I think there is no difference, right? It's like Abraham Hicks says, it's easy. It's just as easy to manifest a castle as it is a button. Now, conceptually, it sounds simple. Practically, it's a lot harder because our beliefs get in the way, right? Yeah. Of course, it feels harder to manifest a castle, right? But, if you look at law of attraction as a consistent law in the same way as gravity is, and the vibrational nature of reality, everything has to be the same, right? The only difference is the way we perceive things. Right? Now, in terms of your question, what to look at or the key things or exercises, There's two key things that I like to share. One is kind of my own version of the emotional guidance system. It's a lot simpler. It's just 5 levels.
Mm-hmm.
So, and people can, if they're watching this as a video, they can rewind it and pause it. But at the bottom, it's struggle. The next level up from struggle is relief / ease. The next level up from that is satisfaction. The next level up from satisfaction is turned on by life. And the next level up from that is bliss. So different people are at different baselines. So if you find out that if you believe that you're mostly in struggle, you want to try spending most of your time reaching for relief. If you spend most of your time in relief, then reach for satisfaction. If you spend most of your time in satisfaction, so you always want to reach for the next layer up, right? Mm-hmm. So that's one simple approach to work on getting to a better feeling place without looking at the negative emotions, without trying to figure out what's in there. Mm-hmm. Then the second thing is what I call the 4 A's of manifestation. And these 4 things are what I would say are the key critical elements you want to look at. And they're going to order again from top down. So the first is alignment. Alignment should always be your top priority. It's when you're in alignment that you're in your power, your intuition is strong, you're in that state of flow, you're in your state of ease. Abraham Hicks says don't do anything if you're not in alignment, right? Get into an alignment and then. And of course, alignment comes when you feel good, when you're happy, when you're satisfied. So alignment comes first. Once you're steady in alignment, the next thing to practice is allowing, right? And we talked about that a little bit earlier, the art of allowing. Allowing reality to unfold in the way it's unfolding. Not pushing against anything. Not trying to effort your way into anything. So allowing is the second piece. The third piece is action. So when it comes to action, it's about taking inspired action versus efforted action. So when you're taking action to try to achieve something, to try to fix something, to try to solve something, then it's typically out of effort. If you're taking action out of impulse and it feels good action, you can't say no to that action, you would take that action no matter what the outcome is. That's the action you're looking for. That's your inspired action. So again, alignment, allowing, action, and then the last piece is what I call acceleration. So acceleration is momentum, right? Mm-hmm. And what creates momentum towards a desire is detailed, positive focus. So the more you focus on a desire, the more detailed you want to get. And the more detailed you get, the more momentum that's going to create, but you need to make sure that it feels good. So let's say this place here, this is general, and right here, this is detailed. So you want to get more and more detailed, and it should feel better and better as you get closer to detail. But if along this path, a fear comes up. So maybe it's a fear of having that desire. Maybe it's a fear of what other people think. And you start to feel the resistance and it doesn't feel so good. Now you're creating momentum in the wrong direction. So if you hit that type of pocket of resistance, you want to take a step back and go back to more general. Go back to more general, feel better, and from that better feeling place, then you want to kind of work your way out of that resistance, deal with the fear, right? So you want to keep working towards more and more and more specific as long as it continues to feel good. And if it doesn't feel good, take a step back, make sure you're staying in alignment, and then investigate why, deal with the false belief, deal with the fear, and then move back more into that specific place again.
Wow.
So those are what I call the 4 A's. Alignment, allowing, action, and acceleration. And you want to get all 4 of those key components in a good place or master them to really unlock your full potential.
Wow. That's really like the acceleration talks about a lot. I think that because we are conscious creators, most of the people that are listening and seeing, because the law of magnetism, people that will be attracted to this video will be aware of their creative forces. We are these creative, conscious creators. We become we're realizing, yes, that this vehicle is the one that creates, attracts, and morph, and that the vibration goes first, and then everything in vibrational, and then the manifestation. But what was so clear and so assisting and supporting in the part of the manifestation that you talked about, I feel a lot of people, a lot of souls get lost in that just before things are starting to come to their way, something is happening that the sabotage and the inner critic, the fear, and then they believe, that's not for me, and they go back and they don't go through that. And that was so important. That was these five A's, and especially like the last one. I feel a lot of people get lost in that, because when the fear comes, because this fear is not something on the surface, because usually when what we desire is so aligned, and I'm talking about the heart desires, it is so aligned with your soul dynamic, your higher potential. You say, wow, I would love to go out there and do my passion. And they visualize and they do the heart visualizing and they feel into that. And then there is the moment that they say, okay, there is someone that could help you, call them or do something. And everything is like, something bad is happening, or suddenly you don't have the good mood. And this is what you just made so clear and so perfect, the acceleration. But towards the acceleration, there is something that is just need to be breakthrough, not breakdown, but breakthrough. Wow, so beautiful. I feel like we've covered so important messages here, and I would love for you to talk about where people find you. We will for sure put all the links about your website, your upcoming events. So excited about some events that are slowly cooking.
Yeah. I've got resources kind of all over the place. So I've got a couple of books on Amazon. Single No More as a Kindle ebook. It's a short 12-hour read. I've got The Power of Joy, which is a full paperback on Amazon. I've got my website, nickbreau, breau.com. I've got, if you go to nickbreau/imanifest, IMNFST, all my free resources there. Instagram, nkbreau. YouTube, search my name. Facebook, and Breau, you can add me as a friend. I'm all over the place.
I love it, and was really an honor to have this time with you. I feel it's like the timeless now. We are in the vortex, and I love to talk about it and say it loud, because I love to manifest as well from the momentum that we build. You know that when Abraham says, like, when you catch yourself there, just marinate. So this is what I'm doing right now, marinating, feeling that.
Totally. There's nothing more fun and exciting than pushing the boundaries of what's possible in physical reality and playing on the leading edge. So I could do conversations like this all the time.
Oh, we will certainly do. And your events, they're gonna find you.
Yeah, we might be doing events. We're looking at events in the Caribbean, possibly in November. Maybe come out to Europe in September and do some events. I did some in Europe last fall. So the more people want stuff, let me know, and we travel.
We travel, yeah. And you are based in Canada, right?
Yeah, I'm on the east coast of Canada. When I look out the front yard, we look over at the Atlantic Ocean. So
imagine that, Canada and Greece bridging and coming together and sharing what we love. And something just final, Nick, to our audience, to people, the souls that are watching and are inspired.
Yeah, just everybody's doing amazing. Just keep doing what you're doing. Keep following your flow. Keep following your inspiration. You are good enough. You are worthy. Take that negative self-talk and throw it in the garbage bin.
Yeah. And from us here, from Greece, from Anagenis, you are amazing in every way. And it's like the moment that we remember that everything has already manifested in the most divine way, and that we're just here to realize it. Everything becomes so easy. But in any occasion, this is a journey that we all said that we would come and experience everything and enjoy. So subscribe, share, and yeah, there are lots of this soulful conversation to come. Nick, Breau, thank you so much. We'll see you very soon.
Thank you very much. Have a good day.
Bye bye, everyone.